My wife told me today after 2 years of marriage that I often hump in my sleep. What are Reddit's quirkiest sleepy time stories? Possibly NSW. Evidently I have 5-minute conversations in my sleep with my fiance every now and then. She says I speak like a child, but give coherent answers and follow logical, if ridiculous, thought progression. I remember nothing. That is creepy as frick. If my so started talking in a child's voice I would 1. Wake them the frick up. 2. Run screaming into the night. I wake up in the morning and still think I'm in secondary school and have homework or exams to do or study for. It takes about 5 minutes to realize I'm 28 years old and don't go to school anymore. Every night, about 20 minutes after she goes to sleep, my wife lets out an incredible series of farts. I've told her about it, and she is embarrassed, but I don't think she understands just how much she farts at that time. Every woman I've slept with had sleep farts. Read somewhere that it's because they are more likely to hold them back during the day. It is very infrequent, but sometimes I go to bed with pants and wake up without pants. Why this happens is what worries me. This could very easily be a very good or very awful non-app story. Usually I'm the one who sleep talks does stuff. Most recently I started yelling at my boyfriend to get my makeup bag. He gets up and gets it for me. I yell at him that it's the wrong one, then I went back to sleep with no recollection. But the other night my boyfriend randomly grabbed my leg and started reaching for my foot and said it's been a while since I've seen your toes. I laughed so hard. My friend's boyfriend started muttering cursing in his sleep. She asked him what was wrong. He said someone was stealing his ankles. My fiance worked for an oil change shop a few years ago. He used to always go through his welcome to Mr. Lube spiel in his sleep, like, clear as day talking. Welcome to Mr. Lube. What service would you like today? Would you like a free newspaper, etc.? He quit shortly after and said it was because that dang place infiltrated his dreams. Ha ha ha. Freshman year in college, my roommate was up really late one night with her desk lamp on, and I guess I was sleep mad at her for the light. Anyway, she says I just shot up dead straight and stared daggers at her from my bed. She asked me if I was okay and I just glared at her. Eventually I just laid back down and continued sleeping. She still hasn't forgiven me for that. Had this happened to me, too, roommate sat up, looked at me and said I'm going to spit on you like a bucket, then rolled over. I thought she was pee, so went to bed kinda shaken up. She had zero memory of it the next morning. Anytime she sleep talked after that I tried to get a conversation going. Nothing ever as memorable as the spitting comment though. I worked at a casino for 2 years and I had a recurring dream that my chip tray was getting a fill. I remember I would struggle so dang hard to stack the chips in the proper order to put them in my tray, but they kept falling over. I woke up a couple times trying to tear apart my pillow trying to get at the chips. My roommate said that he could hear me trying to count up the amount of chips in the fill, but get up to about $700 and say that can't be right and start over. Stock guy for a major bookstore for a summer, 5 AM to 2 PM. I'd come home and take a nap right after work. Girlfriend said I would constantly mutter about shifting, which is what we called moving the existing books around to make room for new additions. Apparently the oddest was something along the lines of fricking Lincoln. 2 dang shelves. Boo the dong. My so thrashes and flails randomly. It's just a spasm, but if we are cuddling it can be quite forceful. Also on numerous times I've caught him chewing his thumb in his sleep. I find it adorable, like a puppy. My GF at the time often talked in her sleep and I usually tried to strike up a conversation. One day she went, Bluedy tampons, in an aroused sounding voice. I didn't say anything back. I just left that one alone. If she screams tampon fight, run. I have sixomnia, possibly what you have. I woke my husband up saying no was our cat. You're not allowed to struggle and furiously masturbating. I deal with the same thing. I've woken up with my wife giving me a hand job that I initiated by grabbing her hand and sticking it down my shorts to full on sexy time. I've also woken up post orgasm after masturbating and slinging my man juice all over her back, side, front. Even after 18 years of marriage, it's still embarrassing as heck. My husband also sleep butts. It's ridiculous though, because if I try to help him or wake him up, he's out cold. He once told me to try to make him do math problems to make him wake up more fully, and when I tried it he pinched the crap out of me, fully asleep. He has no recollection of any of this. My boyfriend told me that he loved me 3 times before he actually said it to me when he was awake. I've also overheard him having a conversation with his best friend about how to propose to me. I was about 12 years old and had the flu. My mom gave me NyQuil and I went to bed while my parents had a party. At about 11 PM I walked downstairs stark naked in front of about 20 of my parents' friends and angrily scream at my dad that I need $300 to pay the hitmen. My mom tried to send me back upstairs, to which I replied, if I go back upstairs Santa is going to kill me with a hammer and let the volcano explode. I vaguely remember it and my parents still love to bring it up. Oh man, same sort of situation here. Bad flu and took NyQuil at 12 years old. Went downstairs mostly naked, screaming that my room was filling with sand and everyone was drowning in it. I kept crying for my aunt to save me. She lived 2 hours away and we barely ever see her. What the frick? NyQuil. My brother talks in his sleep. When I used to share a room with him I once woke up early and had a full-on conversation with him in his sleep. Apparently he was dreaming about a pig bouncing really high and he wanted me to see just how high it bounced before trying to catch it. I had no idea what was going on. I, too, am a sleep humper. I'm also a sleep button eater, as in, apparently I'll just squeeze your butt cheeks repeatedly while I'm asleep. Also, I have night terrors and sleep with my eyes open. I once did a job interview in my sleep. My sister brought me the phone, woke me up, and I did an entire half-hour interview. When I woke up a few hours later my family asked me how it went and I had no idea what they were talking about. I had to call the HR person back and explain that they had been talking to me while I was asleep. And did I say anything bizarre? Apparently sleep me is more confident and amazing than awake me. That bastard. I apparently hit my fiancée in the head at night. When I lie on my back I tend to put my arm over my head. When I'm old cold it seems that I stretch that arm out and into her. She likes to tell people I hit her in the face at night. My husband does the weirdest things in his sleep, especially when he's been drinking or he's stressed out. Most recently, he sat straight up in bed in the middle of the night and stayed that way for a good 2 minutes, not responding when I asked what he was doing. He then got up and proceeded to open and close the door to our laundry closet repeatedly, which is very loud and wakes up both of our kids. He then goes into the bathroom, turns on the light and closes the door. I spend the next 20 minutes putting the girls back to bed. When I'm done, he is still in the bathroom, so I poke my head in there to see what he's doing. He's just standing in front of the mirror, brushing his hair, over and over. I go back to bed. He finally comes back to our room with a helmet of puffy hair and attempts to get back in bed, but it's as if he's forgotten how to lie down. He's flipping and flopping all over the bed in awkward positions until I finally lose my cool and yell at him to just lie down and go to sleep, to which he responds, "Pineapples have feelings too," honks my boob, and falls instantly into a snore-filled sleep. One night my eye woke to my ex shaking me. He was sitting up, had picked me up by the shoulders, and was shaking me with moderate force. I told him to stop with increasing levels of volume and anger. I was really confused and did not realize he was asleep at first. When I figured out he was asleep, I tried smacking his leg to wake him up. Nothing. I whacked his face. Nothing. Finally I had to give him a titty twister to snap him out of his dreaming. He was really upset that I did that, and couldn't understand why I was so upset. In his dream he was helping me, and I was happy. Apparently waking up to a twister and an angry GF was too much of a shock. He thought I was breaking up with him and got really upset. It was pretty funny in hindsight. Sounds like you ended up breaking up with him anyways. I found out the hard way not only why my mom never liked it when me or my siblings had sleepovers, but also that my dad is a chronic sleepwalker. I was 8 years old and I had my friend over for the night. My friend was one of the most sheltered girls and her parents were super protective and super strict. Heck, they almost didn't let her spend the night. Anyways, it's around 2 AM and the two of us are watching late night TV when suddenly we hear her bedroom door open. AHHH. The thing is coming to get me. The thing yells my dad. My friend and I look down the hallway and there's my dad running around paranoid, completely naked. He sort of just runs up and down the hallway, then goes back into the bedroom. We just stared blankly at each other and then down the hallway, wondering what the frick just happened. Yeah, I never had any more sleepovers after that. I sometimes sleepwalk. When I was in college and drinking substantially more, I ruined at least 2 chairs in my room by sleepwalking to them and peeing in them. Also, I peed in my laundry hamper. I used to be a heavy sleepwalker as well. When I was 16, I allegedly broke into my neighbor's house and pinched a loaf in the little old lady's closet. I wiped with a sweater, yelled thank you and left. I am glad I have no recollection of this. At my university I was inebriated and passed out in the girl in the room next door's bed. Apparently I was snoring loudly, and while still asleep, I responded to her laughter by sitting up straight and stating I am the king of this bed, and immediately laying back down and snoring. Comma and passed out in the girl. That is a hell of a way to pass out. My ex-girlfriend used to do organic chemistry reactions in her sleep, complete with drawing the mechanisms in the air. Recently, I slept next to a friend that was doing complicated physics math in her sleep. She rolled over, looked me in the eyes and said in the most confident tone, "And there are no derivatives," before rolling back over and continuing to mumble numbers. As for myself, I am guilty of falling asleep in the shower after pulling all-nighters and waking up to myself being completely frustrated but not being able to write test answers on the shower wall with my razor. That sounds awfully dangerous. If you're sleep writing with a razor in a shower, might want to consider relocating your razor. One time back in high school, a friend of mine stayed the night. So in the middle of the night I apparently got out of bed, stepped over him, walked into my parents' room and stood there for about 5 minutes, like some paranormal activity crap. Then I walked back into my room, stepped over him and got back into bed. It scared the crap out of him then, but he thinks it's hilarious now. When I was in high school, I played as the backup quarterback. One night a friend of mine was sleeping over. When we woke up in the morning he told me that I had awoken him by screaming, "Hut, hut, hike." He said I had my arms stretched out like I was getting ready to take a snap. I had no recollection, but we had some good laughs. My boyfriend frequently talks in his sleep, but usually not about anything interesting. However, one night he woke me up by going off on a rant in his sleep. Curious to what was on his mind, I woke up to listen. He was going on about how tire companies and the government are in cahoots because the government never keeps the road nice, which in turn makes us buy tires more often than necessary. Therefore the governments are supplying the tire companies with steady business. Very random, but kind of made some sense. Our conspiracy. Apparently we've had full-on sleep sex, which I have no recollection of. It's extremely disconcerting when you wake up to find out you've given her some of the best stuffing she's had and you have no idea what she's talking about, and it's not even Thanksgiving yet. Hi yo. I've done a lot of really weird things in my sleep, but by far the strangest was jumping on top of my girlfriend really scared and panicked, pinning her arms down and screaming, the crawlers are coming to get us. Then climbing off and going back to sleep. No memory of it whatsoever. That's freaking terrifying. I imagine afterwards her lying petrified beside you, staring at the ceiling trying to get that out of her mind, and you snuggled up and snoring happily like a little kitten beside her. My wife has told me many times that we'll start getting frisky in my sleep trying to touch her. Get her to touch me. Sometimes she falls for it and I have full-blown sex, but halfway through stop, get off of her, turn over and go back to snoring. I have no memory of doing this. She laughs at me when I wake up and I have no idea what happened. I do a variety of weird things in my sleep. My GF is driven crazy by it, which is why I am going to a sleep specialist tomorrow. Here is a list of weird things I do. Per my GF. Empty the dirty laundry hamper. Run around the room yelling. Punched a hole in the wall and window once. Shake my GF like there is no tomorrow. Have pointless conversations with myself. Act as if someone is about to murder me. Yell at the top of my lungs about the White Sox. There is more weird crap. She has it all written down at home. Well, at least yelling about the White Sox is reasonable. I don't know about sleep humping, I sleep cuddle. Always have. This led to a very embarrassing situation when I once had to share a bed with my cousins on a family trip. I have a body pillow for this purpose. It can be at my feet when I go to sleep, but without fail, I am always snuggling that mother when I wake up. A couple years back, I fell asleep in the car with my music playing during a trip with my cross-country team. According to them, I sang the entire soundtrack to Sahara. I may be a Nazi cause apparently I yell out crap in German while I'm asleep. I don't even speak German. Try explaining that crap when you get woken up in the middle of the night at camp with all your friends looking scared. Oh, and a little Russian too. Goddamn World War II documentaries. I didn't know I was turning into Gilbert Gottfried. I spent the night at my friend's house and woke up in the middle of the night because she was dreaming that she was driving in a high-speed chase. She grabbed me, sat me up, and was jerking me back and forth as if my shoulders were the steering wheel. Probably Get Buried by Here is my novel. Okay, this is a story I have been asked to tell quite a few times. A few years ago, I was in a conversation with my father-in-law about having children. He tells me all sorts of stories about raising my wife. One that came up was regarding the horrific night terrors my wife had as a child and into her teens. I chuckled, although he was very serious regarding how creepy it was. Full on screaming for him, saying there was a man in the closet, out the window, in the hallway. When he would get to her he would talk to her, but she would still be screaming eyes wide open to the whites, and she wouldn't acknowledge him even though he was inches from her face. Now she would do things. She would pop up and point at things that weren't there, but after a while I became amused and would just laugh. That all ended one night. It was a windy winter night. Full moon, allowing enough light in the room to see half the room pretty well. I feel her get up, which wakes me. I sleep on the side closest to the door on my left, and we usually sleep butt to butt. I realize she's out of the bed but hasn't left the room. I mumble, without turning, "Babe, what's wrong?" No response. I roll over thinking nothing of it. She's gone. So my eyes slowly adjust and I look from the right down the bed and towards my feet. I can't see her. Then slowly my eyes focus on the corner of the room. Standing there in a white slip, head all the way back, staring up in the corner of the room, is my wife. I froze. I pulled the blanket up for some false sense of security. Scumbag brain plays every scary movie it can think of. Minutes pass. I finally choose to say something instead of fleeing out onto the garage through the window. Though this plan was a strong runner-up. "Babe, you okay?" Nothing. Call her by her first name. Whole name. Nothing. Finally, yell her name. She turns, tilts her head down in a strained, unnatural way, leans forward and screams yeet in a condescending "you're bothering me" kind of way. I flip the frick out and leap from the bed, knocking over my lamp and picking up my night table to defend myself. She walked back to her side of the bed and climbed under the covers as I was still cowering in the corner. I backed myself along the wall to the door with the night table as a shield, my eyes never leaving the bed. I stepped out and closed the door. I sat in the living room with my night table until morning. She walked out, gave me a kiss and asked why I was up so early, why I had the night table. "Woman, you're evil. I love you, but you're evil." Creepy as frick, my man. I have woke my fiance up terrified about spiders dangling from our ceiling fan. This has happened 3 times and never once was there a spider in sight. I struggle with sleepwalking, which can include humping, arguing and driving. Keep your chin up and never take Ambien. My husband woke up in the middle of the night, walked to the end of the bed, lifted the covers, and proceeded to tickle my toes while saying, "Mommy, mommy, wake up." I sing a song about praising the Lord in some form of African. I learned the song in 6th grade for choir. I also learned a German lullaby and a song in French about carpenters. Long story. I sing every single one of them on a Monday, Tuesday, Friday schedule. I, apparently, rolled over once in my sleep, and in an effort to wrap my arm around my girlfriend to lightly cuddle, I slipped my hand clear under her shirt and onto her boob. She said it felt like I was just trying to get comfortable, then suddenly realized I was feeling a boob. Furthermore, I apparently murmured happily upon doing so. She moved my hand and it just went straight to the other boob. I have no memory of this. TL. DR. I rolled over and grabbed girlfriend's boob in sleep and made happy sounds upon doing so. I have had a 10-minute phone conversation with my manager at work that led to her really confuse me when I got into work later. One time staying at a friend's cabin, I took my blankets and pillow down into the basement and slept in their sailboat. I've helped a friend with physics homework while asleep. Got it right too. I crashed on a friend's couch after a night of drinking, and in the morning when they tried to wake me up I sat up and yelled "That's what she said" at the top of my lungs and fell off the couch laughing, then went right back to snoring. One time I woke up very confused to a very angry GF who said I punched her and said "That's what you get, B." She forgave me since I held many sleep conversations with her and insisted she was someone else no matter how many times she told me she wasn't. I've had a lot of great adventures in my sleep. I've helped a friend with physics homework while asleep. Got it right too. Ha. For some reason, I like to pee on things in my sleep. I have woken up while taking a pee in my closet. My parents tell me I have done it my whole life and I just found out about a few months ago. It worries me because I have stayed at other people's houses for weeks at a time. Whoa, that's not right on their part that they didn't tell you about it. Especially with them knowing that you wouldn't be at home for weeks at a time. This is my coworker's. If he is having a bad dream and someone tries to wake him up or say anything to calm him, he will physically fight them in his sleep. My brother is like that. I tried to wake him up for school as a kid and he clocked me in the nose. We got to stay home that day. I, because me honker was leaking like a sieve, and he because my dad had an appointment with a belt and my brother's butt haha. I do this too. Sometimes it's just a slow hump. Sometimes it's hard and fast, max power style. Other times we get to the point of insertion when I wake up and I'm all, the frick, I'm too tired for this crap. The first, and only, time I've ever taken Ambien was an event that I can't remember, but the story told to me by the two people in the house was the strangest I've ever heard. I was maybe 13 or 15 at the time. I don't keep track of time well, and I was on either Ritalin or Concerta, ADD medications, and one night I couldn't fall asleep, was suffering from insomnia every night for a month. Normally this wouldn't be a problem, but the next day was exams. So, my mother gives me a half dose of Ambien to help me go to sleep and I sleep well for about 2 hours. I sleep in boxer briefs and an undershirt every night, but this night I decide to wake up and get dressed in my Sunday best. Somewhere around midnight, I go downstairs loudly enough to wake my mother, who was sleeping upstairs, and startle my brother, who was watching TV downstairs. I walk to the door in a 3-piece suit, barefoot, and start unlocking it. Fortunately it was a complicated series of locks. My mother and brother are asking me what the heck are you doing, and I responded I just want to go for a jog. I need to go running. Please just let me go jogging. I don't know why I said these things. Never had I before nor have I since expressed any interest in recreational jogging, least of all whilst wearing my finest suit. They actually had to physically restrain me from leaving that night. I punched my brother in the stomach and the back, and kicked him in the shin. I, regretfully, slapped my mother on the arm and back. When I finally calmed down I promptly went upstairs and back to bed, fully clothed, though I put on my shoes before I got in bed. Sometime after that, I disrobed to my usual sleepwear. When I woke up in the morning, I was well rested and ready to go to school and remembered absolutely nothing of this ordeal after falling asleep. My mother let me go to school as if nothing happened. After all, it was exam day and she couldn't have me freaking out about something like that. They only told me about this after 2 days of dropping subtle hints about it to see if I remembered. This is the single strangest event of my entire life. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.